This screencast is for Elementary Ed 4300, Methods in Teaching Science, Science Matters, Chapters 15 and 16. Chapter 15, The Ladder of Life. The cell is the chemical factory of life. An important concept for you to understand is the role of carbon. Large molecules must be constructed from atoms that are both plentiful and easy to hook together. Carbon, with 4 electrons in its outermost orbit, has both of these qualities. It also possesses an even more important property, the ability to form strong covalent bonds with other carbon atoms. Remember, we discussed this earlier in this book, that covalent bonds are the bonds of living things. Therefore, the properties of carbon explain why it is found in all molecules of living systems and why we say that life on Earth is carbon-based. There are 4 main kinds of molecules for life. First, we have nucleic acids, proteins, carbohydrates, and lipids. Know that scientists have always wanted to organize life into categories. We have both the Linnaean classification or taxonomy of the 5 kingdoms, which was described in your text, and also a more recent 3 domains of life. Please read this in your chapter so you're familiar with the changes over the last 100 years with organization of life and scientists putting things into classifications. Some questions we will discuss in class in relation to chapter 15 is all living things are made of cells. This is called the cell theory, and it is on your final. Cells are the chemical factories of life. First question we will discuss, how do elements combine to form a cell? Please look at the structure of the cell outlined in chapter 15 and be ready to use this knowledge to do a draw and describe. Second, why is carbon well suited for the molecules of living things? We will discuss this in class as well. Chapter 16, the code of life. In this chapter, the concepts of genetics were discussed. First of all, you were introduced to the idea of Mendel's peas. Through crossbreeding peas, Mendel discovered that there were dominant and recessive characteristics in living things. From this sprung forth the study of genetics. So we have RNA and DNA, which we talked about, or you read about in chapter 15, being the nucleic acids in the molecules of life. These molecules carry the blueprints that run the cell's chemical factories and also are the vehicles for inheritance, which is the passing of genetic information from one generation to the next. Because of their important role in biology, nucleic acids are a main emphasis in this chapter. So we have DNA and RNA. As far as understanding DNA and RNA, you should understand that DNA has DNA is one example of nucleic acid, the Na of DNA, so named because it is found in the nucleus of the cell. Like other important molecules of life, DNA is modular, built up from repeated stacking of simple building blocks. We also have multiple combinations of letters of A, C, G, T in the code with, let's see here, in the DNA. So the DNA replicates itself by first splitting down the middle like a zipper. Each half of the original double helix attracts complementary bases to form two new identical molecules. And there are only 4 possible rungs to the ladder. And this is where the chapter talked about A, T, G, and C, and how these can form together to reproduce the DNA. Viruses. Now, viruses aren't actually classified, according to most scientists, as living things. But however, viruses need to be in living things in order to reproduce. And so this was an interesting topic in chapter 16 as well. We'll also discuss meiosis and mitosis. Mitosis is the division of cells where one cell divides into 2 identical cells. And this is what most living things, and especially in our human system, most of our cells divide and reproduce through mitosis. Meiosis is reproduction with sex, and this is where one cell, and these are cells that are only in the reproduction organs, reproduce. One cell reproduces and divides actually into 4 daughter cells, which have half of the DNA from the parent cell. And this is how we get fertilization of a meiotic cell from a male and a meiotic cell from a female, and they combine into having a complete genetic code for a new and unique living thing. For chapter 16, we'd like to have these following discussion questions. How does DNA work? And compare that to how RNA works. And then last, why is sexual reproduction a good idea?